Pancakes at midnight. It was 12:07 a.m. when Lena found herself standing in the kitchen, wearing mismatched socks and a stretched-out hoodie that still smelled faintly of baby lotion. Her hair was in a messy bun, her face pale from lack of sleep, and her eyes red from crying, again. Their baby, Noah, had been awake for most of the night, fussing, wailing, then falling asleep for 20 minutes before crying again. Lena had walked, rocked, sung, whispered lullabies, and at one point even prayed to the ceiling fan for a miracle. And now, as Noah finally drifted off in his crib, she stood there in the dim light, staring at the kitchen counter, not really seeing anything. That's when Ethan walked in. His hair was sticking up in all directions, and his eyes were half closed, but when he saw Lena, silent, still, shoulders shaking slightly, he woke up instantly.
"Hey,"
he said gently, stepping closer.
"what's wrong?"
Lena didn't answer. Instead, her lip trembled, and a tear rolled down her cheek. "I'm tired," she whispered. "I think I forgot how to be me." Ethan didn't say anything right away. He simply wrapped his arms around her from behind, rested his chin on her shoulder, and held her.
"You're still you.
He said softly.
Just sleep-deprived. And covered in spit up."
She let out a small laugh through the tears. "I miss pancakes," she said suddenly. Ethan blinked.
"Pancakes?"
Lena nodded. "Remember when we used to make pancakes at midnight just because we could? When life was quieter? When we had energy to laugh over burnt ones?" He smiled.
"We danced in the kitchen while waiting for them to cook. And we always played that ridiculous 90s playlist."
She turned toward him. "Yeah. And we didn't care if we made a mess." Ethan looked at her, really looked, and in that moment, he realized something. In the chaos of newborn cries, bottles, diapers, laundry, and interrupted sleep, they'd stopped being them. They were surviving, not living. Functioning, not connecting. But here she was, standing in the kitchen at midnight, missing pancakes. Missing them. He kissed her forehead and said,
"It's still midnight."
"What?"
"You said you missed midnight pancakes."
He stepped back, opened the cabinet, and pulled out the flour.
"So let's make them."
"Ethan, no. That's crazy. The baby just..."
"He's asleep. For now. We've got, what, 20 minutes? 30 if we're lucky."
He grinned.
"Let's be crazy."
Lena shook her head, but she was already reaching for the eggs. They made pancakes. Bad ones. Lumpy, uneven, half-burned. Ethan spilled milk on the counter. Lena forgot the salt. They had no whipped cream, so they used leftover peanut butter and a few chocolate chips they found behind the cereal. And they laughed. Oh, how they laughed. They played their old playlist on low volume, slow danced with spatulas in hand, and sang off-key while the pancakes sizzled. Lena accidentally flipped one onto the floor. Ethan tried to shape one like a heart, but it came out looking like a confused potato. And it didn't matter. Because for the first time in weeks, they weren't just exhausted parents. They were Ethan and Lena again, the couple who fell in love in small kitchens and midnight kitchens and every kind of kitchen in between. Later, as they sat on the floor with pancakes on napkins and syrup on their fingers, Ethan leaned against the fridge and looked at her.
"You know,"
he said,
"we're going to be okay."
Lena rested her head on his shoulder. "Even if we forget sometimes?"
"Especially if we forget sometimes."
he said.
"As long as we remember to come back."
She nodded. "I don't need vacations or big gestures. I just need this, reminders that we're still in it together." He smiled.
"Sticky hands and all."
As they cleaned up, quietly, slowly, knowing that at any second Noah might wake again, Lena paused and looked at Ethan. Promise me, she said.
Promise you what?
That no matter how tired or how chaotic it gets, we'll still find a way to make pancakes at midnight. Ethan reached out, pinky extended.
Pinky swear.
She laughed, hooked her finger with his, and sealed it. That night, they went to bed holding hands under the blanket, syrup still faintly on their fingers, and hearts a little lighter. And in the dark, just before falling asleep, Lena whispered, "I love you." Ethan, half asleep, murmured back.
Even when you burn the pancakes.
Especially then, she said with a smile.
The little things. It started with toothpaste. More specifically, it started with how Emma squeezed the tube from the middle, while Jake preferred rolling it neatly from the bottom. They had been married for 6 months. Just 6. And already, their cozy apartment, with warm wooden floors and a leaky kitchen faucet, was filled with a quiet tension neither of them knew how to name. It wasn't dramatic. No slammed doors or storming off into the night. Just little things. Jake hated that Emma left the bathroom mirror foggy after every shower. Emma got frustrated when he rearranged her kitchen spices in alphabetical order. He liked sleeping with the window closed. She needed it slightly open so the stars could visit. They used to find those differences charming. "She's so spontaneous," Jake would say, watching her dance barefoot while cooking.
"He's so dependable."
Emma would smile when Jake brought her tea without asking. But slowly, what they once celebrated began to irritate them. Their mornings became quiet. Not peacefully so, but in that careful way people speak when they're afraid of saying the wrong thing. The couch, once their favorite place to cuddle and watch bad reality TV, now felt like neutral territory during tense silences. It all came to a head one night over something small, again. Jake had washed all the dishes after dinner, but left Emma's favorite mug in the sink because it had lipstick on it and he wasn't sure if it needed special care. Emma, exhausted from work, noticed the one mug and said,
"Why didn't you just finish the job?"
Jake snapped. "I do one thing wrong and that's all you see?" Emma looked stunned.
"That's not what I meant."
"Doesn't matter," Jake muttered, heading to the bedroom. "It's always something." Later that night, Emma found him sitting on the floor by the bed, head in his hands. She sat beside him, knees touching, both of them staring at the carpet.
"Why does this feel so hard?"
she whispered. Jake didn't answer right away. Then he said, "Because maybe we're expecting love to always feel easy." Emma turned her head toward him.
"Did we rush into this?"
He shook his head. "No. I just think we stopped noticing each other." She blinked.
"What do you mean?"
Jake sighed. "I don't say thank you when you cook. I don't tell you I like the way you hum when you're focused. I don't even notice when you're tired anymore. And maybe you've stopped noticing me too." Emma sat quietly. Then said,
"I still notice. I just forgot how to say it."
Jake looked at her. Emma continued,
"I notice how you never let me carry heavy bags, even when your back hurts. I notice that you refill the ice tray even though you hate it. I notice how you still wait for me to fall asleep before you turn off the light."
He gave a tired smile. That night, they didn't fix everything. But they made a quiet promise, not with big vows or written notes, but with a shared understanding. They would start noticing again. They would say thank you for the ordinary. Apologize faster. Laugh more. And forgive quickly, even for things as small as toothpaste. Over the next few weeks, they found their way back to each other, one little moment at a time. Emma began writing sticky notes and leaving them on Jake's laptop.
"Good luck with your morning meeting. You look handsome even when you're grumpy. I put extra honey in your tea. I know today's hard."
Jake started leaving her random photos throughout the week, pictures of their favorite restaurant, a funny billboard, a squirrel on the subway. Sometimes, just a heart drawn on a napkin. They brought back their Sunday morning ritual, pancakes, No phones, and jazz music. One morning, Jake surprised her with a slightly burned heart-shaped pancake. Emma laughed.
It's perfect.
It's love, he said. A little uneven, but still sweet. One afternoon, after a long week, Jake came home to find the apartment lit only by fairy lights. Emma had made his favorite dinner, and next to his plate was a little jar labeled,
Things I love about you, that you probably forgot.
Inside were dozens of folded notes.
You remember my shoe size. You always warm up my side of the bed. You ask my dad about his arthritis every time, even when he gives the same long story.
Jake sat down, overwhelmed. I didn't know you noticed these, he said.
I notice everything.
Emma replied softly.
I just stopped saying it.
Years later, when their friends asked them how they made it work through jobs, stress, and a world constantly pulling them in different directions, Emma always smiled and said,
We kept falling in love with the small things.
Jake would add, and when the big things tried to break us, we remembered the tiny ones that built us. They still argued sometimes. He still alphabetized the spice rack. She still squeezed the toothpaste from the middle. But now, when they did, they laughed. Because love wasn't perfect. It was patient. It was remembering that the smallest gestures, tea left waiting, lights turned off, quiet support during a hard day, were the ones that lasted the longest. In the end, it wasn't grand vacations or anniversary gifts that held them together. It was the little things. And little by little, they became everything.